welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you my July wrap-up. In July, I read 2 novels and 7 volumes of manga. I do not have any physical books to show you today because I borrowed them all from my library and they have all been returned already. So I will put up pictures for you here so you can see what the books look like. I'm again borrowing my coworker's office to film this. And so yeah, it is also my lunch break, so I'm going to try to get this done as quickly as possible. So let's just start off with the novels first. The first book I finished was The Heart Forger. This is the second book in the Bone Witch series by Rin Chipiko. I read the first one, The Bone Witch, as a advanced reader's copy last year, I believe. And I really enjoyed it, though it was slow going for me for most of the book. The Bone Witch follows a dark Asha, and she, in the first book, learns that she has these powers and is learning to use them and hone her abilities. But also at the beginning of that book, you find out that she's been exiled. So the series progresses, both the first book and the second book. Each chapter goes back and forth between past and present. The character's name is Taya, and in the present, you're kind of following her and a bard, and he's taking down her story, and you learn a little bit about what she's doing while she's been exiled, her few conversations with the bard, and then in the past you follow her discovering her abilities, being trained, and the things she goes through during her training. And for me, the first book was extremely slow because it had to explain a lot. You had to learn about the world and all of the abilities and creatures and things like that. But towards the end of the novel, things really started to pick up. A lot of things happened, and then by the end of the book, I really wanted to know what was going on. So the second book came out this year, and I decided to try it on audio because I got it on an advanced reader's copy. The last time there was no audio available, and I do have a problem when the story bounces back and forth, either between characters or time periods, because I do find that I get confused a lot, which is another small issue I had with the first installment. So I listened to the second installment on audio, and that helped a lot. The past is narrated by a woman, and the present is narrated by a male, the bard character. And so that really helped me to figure out where I was at any point in time in the book, and it helped keep me clear instead of being confused a lot. I enjoyed this one a lot more, as I expected I would, because it didn't get bogged down with all of the details of, the world and things like that. You already know what's going on, and then they can just proceed with the story. Things are getting really interesting in this installment, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens in the next one and how the two storylines converge. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I gave most of the books I read, actually almost all of them, 4 stars. Again, this month I think I've been choosing really good books that suit my tastes lately, instead of trying to pick books that either are really popular with the booktube community. I think, and I mentioned this before, that I think that because you get so many recommendations and you hear gushing reviews about things, you're more tempted to pick up something that maybe you wouldn't be tempted to pick up. And I kind of fell into that, and I didn't enjoy a lot of what I read over the last year. This year's been off to a pretty good start though, because most of the books I've read have been no lower than 3 stars. I don't think I've given anything lower than that yet. And most of them are hovering in the 4-star area, so I think I'm doing pretty good selecting books that are more suited to my taste now. So anyway, the next book that I read was Our Game. This is the second book in the Sean King and Michelle Maxwell series by David Baldacci. I read the first book, Split Second, in June. And this one I am reading with the World of Sleuths read-alongs group on Goodreads. This one's hosted by Tim, who was a past March Mystery Madness host. And so he picks 4 novels every month to read along with him. And I decided to just stick with the 1 selection for the month, and I decided to just continue with this series. Sean King and Michelle Maxwell both were previous Secret Service agents, both of which who had issues protecting their presidential candidate. And in this second installment, they have embarked on a private investigator type of company. They are partners, and they are working a serial murder investigation where the murderer is copying several other prominent serial murder crime scenes, I guess you say. And I did find this one very interesting. The murders described in this installment were much more violent than the murders that occurred in Split Second. I don't mind that too much though. I really enjoyed this one. I'm looking forward to the next one, which we will be reading with the World of Sleuths read-alongs group in August. And I listened to this one on audiobook again. I do enjoy the narrator. I think he does a really good job. And yeah, I'm glad that I'm finally exposed to some of David Baldacci's work. He has quite an extensive library of works, and I think I'm going to continue with this one series before I decide to branch out to others. I know a few of my friends are currently reading other series of his, so I'm interested to see what those are like as well. So yeah, this one also got 4 stars. Then the remainder of what I read in July were manga volumes. I'm still on a manga kick from the Manga Readathon, and so I read volumes 58 through 63 of Fairy Tail by Hiromashima. 63 marks the end of the series, so I did actually finish a manga series, and I'm a little sad about it. Fairy Tail follows our friends from the Fairy Tail Guild, and as I mentioned last month, they were heading into a battle, and these last 6 volumes are the culmination of that battle. And I thought it ended up very well. I'm very happy with the end. Overall, as a series, I really enjoy it and do highly recommend it if you enjoy stories about friendship. These characters have really great friendships, and I don't really have much to say that revolves about any kind of disappointment in the series, other than a little bit of fan servicey types of illustrations. Now, I mentioned to you last month about Food Wars and how I didn't like how the reaction shots where they lose all of their clothes. In Fairy Tail, during a lot of the battles, lots of the girls lose a lot of their clothes. sometimes it's funny, but there was a point where I thought it was kind of getting excessive. But because I enjoy these characters so much, I tried not to let it bother me as much as it did. And towards the end, there was so much going on that I really didn't have, I guess, maybe the brain space to think about the fact that the drawings were more of a fan servicey nature. Obviously we're in a battle, so the scenes are pretty heavy. And yeah, I thought it ended well. It ended on a very nice note. I think there's enough closure there for me. There's one ship in there that I can't bring myself to get behind, even though we've seen it coming for a long time. I just couldn't. I still can't bring myself to get behind that one. But that's okay, I can live with it. Everything else was great. We have resumed watching the anime. We're in the Tartarus arc right now. And I believe the last season will be coming out sometime later this year. So gearing up for that. The anime does have a lot of other like filler arcs. So there's still more to experience with this group, which I'm happy about. But I ended up giving all of the volumes 4 stars, except for the last volume. I gave the last volume 5 stars. Like I said, I thought it ended very well. I'm feeling very content with how things ended up. And overall, as a series, I really enjoyed this one. It's a long one for sure, but highly enjoyable. Then the last volume I read was the first volume of Midnight Secretary by Tomu Omi. And forgive me for looking down, I've got some notes. This is a series that I've been very interested in for a while, but I've never ventured to pick it up. And then my friend Shannon over at Planet Shannon, I think is her Twitter name, Planet Shannon TV. I think her YouTube name is just Shannon Redler though. She joined us when we were doing the manga readathon, and she read Midnight Secretary as one of her titles, and it really got me interested in actively seeking out the series to finally pick up and read. So it took me a really long time, and I was finally able to find the copies from a library in one of our systems. I at first thought that the library didn't have it because through the library app, when you're looking through the library catalog, even though it's there, it said they had no books for that title. And so I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? So I thought I would have had to buy it in order to read it, which I don't mind too much. I do buy a lot of manga, especially secondhand manga. But fortunately, I just happened to jump on the library's actual website from a desktop and was able to find a copy from one of the libraries in our system, and they actually have all of them. So I requested the first 3, but I only got to reading the first volume during July. This one is about a woman who is like trying to be the best secretary. She already has a very widely known reputation as being an excellent secretary. But, you know, she has a certain style, and I'm sure you can see right here in the picture her style. Well, the reason she dresses like that is because she doesn't think that people are going to take her seriously if she doesn't dress like that as a secretary, especially with her reputation, because she has such a baby face. So anyway, she gets hired, or transferred? She starts working for this president of this corporation. He's known to be kind of a stickler. And he can't stand the way she looks. He immediately like makes comments about why he can't have a better looking secretary, which, okay, whatever. But as the story continues, she finds out that he's a womanizer, but she also finds out later that he's a vampire. And so I enjoyed this series, not as much as Fairy Tail, or at least I should say I enjoyed this volume not as much as Fairy Tail because I've only read the first one. But I couldn't bring myself to give this volume less than 4 stars. Now for me, a 3-star read means that I liked it, but I probably won't reread it. 4 stars usually means that I enjoyed it, but I will reread it. And because this series seems like something that I would pick up and reread, I couldn't give it less than that. I thought that the tropes, the vampire tropes, were different. And I'm interested to see how this story progresses. Like, we can already see that she's doing an excellent job, but how knowing that her boss is a vampire affects what happens throughout the story. I think this one is only 6 or 7 volumes long, so I'm looking forward to reading the next few volumes that I have and continuing with that series. And this one is rated for mature audiences, so even though this particular volume didn't really have a lot of, well, I wouldn't consider it more mature than what was in Food Wars, which is rated for older teen. I expect that there's going to be more mature situations happening in the future. So anyway, yeah, I am enjoying that one, looking forward to continuing that. And that completes everything that I read in the month of July. So on the horizon for August, I am going to continue, like I said, with the World of Sleuths read-alongs, with the 3rd book in the Sean King and Michelle Maxwell series by David Baldacci. And then on August 10th through 18th, there is the Manga Madness readathon, and that's being hosted by Jade at Coffee and Books 18 on Twitter. She has a blog, I believe, that is called Drink Coffee and Read Books or something. It's linked on her Twitter, and I will link her down in the description box below as well. You do need to sign up to participate in this readathon, and so I've already signed up. There are several options to sign up for with the readathon. They do a bingo board, and each bingo block has like a prompt so that you can read a manga based on the prompt. I signed up for the read whatever you want category because I wasn't sure that I could stick to reading the bingo board. So I think my objective is probably going to be read whatever I want, but if it matches something on the bingo board, then I'll apply it there and see like how I end up at the end of the readathon. The 3rd option is to read volumes from one series the entire readathon, which I could be doing as well, but I like to have lots of options during readathon. So yeah, I really enjoyed the manga readathon that's hosted by Jen and Laura. Jen from Shelf Space Fleeting and Laura from Manga Hoarder. I really enjoyed that one, and when I saw this one come up, I thought, why not? I'm really enjoying reading manga right now, and it gives me an excuse to read more. I have acquired quite a few volumes of manga recently. I have a favorite secondhand bookstore that has a lot of manga in it. It's called Book Off, and it's a Japanese company, I believe. And so I made a visit there recently and came home with several packages because they were having a sale. So I have grown my manga library recently, and so I have lots of options. I'm really excited for the readathon. So that's my plan so far for August. I've only been reading about 2 novels a month so far. There's so many books I want to read, but I'm not like in a mindset to sit down and read a physical book. I have a couple on the go right now that I am finding interesting. In fact, I have an arc. But I can only bring myself to read like 1 or 2 chapters a night. Therefore, it's slow going reading, even though I do find the story interesting. And so yeah, we'll see how we'll go with the novels. I do expect that I'm going to have more manga read than novels next month, though, because of the readathon. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, or if you're planning on participating in any of the World of Sleuth's read-along selections or the Manga Madness readathon. If you haven't watched my Yarny update, which would be my most recent Yarny update, I mentioned that I am now on Facebook. So if you're interested in following me on Facebook, you can find me there at Disis19, and that's DISIS19. It's the same handle I use for Goodreads, for Instagram, for Twitter, so it'll make it really easy to find me. I only have a Facebook page, so there's no group to join. And yeah, so I am there now. I do try to post something a little different on all of my social media sites, just so that things don't get repetitive in one area. So if you're interested in following me on Facebook, please feel free to do so. And that's all I've got for you today. I hope you're all doing great, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.